Okay, welcome back to our coverage from AWS reInvent. I'm Ian Massingham. I'm with the technology evangelism team here at Amazon Web Services. reInvent is AWS's global customer education conference. So we're live in Las Vegas with about 43,000 guests here this week. And as you know, we are launching brand new services live on Twitch from the show floor here in the expo at the Venetian. And I'm joined by the team that are going to be launching one of these services. And one of the guests. So the first thing I'm going to do is just quickly ask the guests for this segment to introduce themselves. Let's start with you, Trevor, and work back across to me.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, I'm Trevor Dyke. I'm a senior product manager in AWS focused on messaging.
Hi, I'm Bill Vass. I'm the VP for Storage, Automation, and Messaging.
And I'm Chris Eller. I'm a partner at Cedrus. We specialize in migrating customers to the cloud.
Awesome, great stuff. Nice to meet you all, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
So the big question for you, Bill, what is it that you're announcing today here at reInvent?
I'm very excited to announce the launch of Amazon MQ later today, which is a managed active MQ service for messaging that enables folks to do high-performance messaging with sort of a lift and shift from their existing applications.
Okay, great. One thing that you need to know about the audience here on Twitch is that it can be pretty varied. There's a lot of people asking questions in the stream that are not that familiar with AWS or some of the topics that we've discussed today. So can you take it right back to basics and just talk a little bit about what messaging is in this context, which kinds of organizations use it, and what role it plays in IT in these kinds of companies?
Yeah, so messaging is a foundational service that allows asynchronous communications between applications. So if you and I were two applications, say an application has 7, 9, 10,000 apps in an enterprise.
Yep.
If we're communicating to each other, if I want to communicate a change to you, I send a message, and I wait asynchronously for a response. If I waited synchronously, I'd never get anything done. We'd all be sitting still.
Yep.
Right? And so messaging is this plumbing or foundational service that allows all the applications to intercommunicate and move together.
Okay, now you mentioned
asynchronous
messaging there. Within AWS, we already have a couple of services that do that. We have SQS and we have SNS. That's the simple queuing service and the simple notification service. So why another service? What particular niche does this service fit?
And those are incredibly popular services. They're heavily used across AWS. In fact, on Prime Day, how many transactions did we do today? About
last Prime Day, SQS managed 40 billion messages at up to 10 million transactions per second.
Yep.
Right, yeah, it's really amazing. And SNS does all the notifications out. You get on your phone and other things like that. They're really great for cloud scale, elastic scaling, serverless applications. But when you're moving, say, an application that runs on IBM MQ series or other things like that, that has STOMP and AMQP and other protocol requirements there, our customers wanted something they could just lift and shift and just repoint the endpoint and it would just work.
Okay, now you mentioned a few different technologies there, IBM MQ and a couple of others. So what technologies are at the core of our Amazon MQ service? Are we using one of those products or are we using something else for this product?
We're using Apache Active MQ series, right?
Okay.
That's available there. Active MQ, it's a tried and true scalable product. It's been around for a long time. Has many, many enhancements. It is heavily used in startups and enterprises today already.
Okay.
So just lift and shift to it, point and click, set it up. We'll show you how easy it is, and you can get going.
Great. So maybe I'm putting words into your mouth here, but I think the problem that we're solving here is offloading more of this undifferentiated heavy lifting from customers. Is that how you see it? It's the management tasks that are associated with that software.
Having, as a recovering CIO, having run many, many, many messaging services over the years, there's a huge amount. Patching, scaling, managing, all of that, sort of like we do with relational database services, RDS service today, all of that heavy lifting of managing a database, it gets off-lifted. Now all of the complex task of managing all those queues and managing the instances for it, keeping it up and running, and all that stuff is off-lifted from you, so you can just focus on your business and accelerating what you need to do.
Okay, and how does it work in practice for a customer? You creating a new instance of Active MQ for each customer that signs up for the service? Is that how the service works?
They each create their own instance, and they can create instances in multiple places and fail over between the two, and then they just basically set up their own endpoints.
Great. So Trevor, I think you've got a demo for us. Can we switch over to Trevor's machine? Maybe Trevor can give us a quick walkthrough of how the service looks and feels in the console.
Let's do a quick demo here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a broker, and then I'm going to show you how high availability works with failover, and then we're going to look at a few CloudWatch metrics. So let's click select creating a broker. So we can pick 2 instance sizes. We have micro and large. So we're going to do a large here. And then I can do a single broker, an active standby pair. So I'm going to do an active standby here just for the demo for high availability. Okay, and then we're going to set up the username and password. That's just for access to the broker itself. And then we just click create broker. Pretty simple. So now you can see my broker creation is in progress. Takes about 5 to 10 minutes. So just like those cooking shows, I already have the cake baked. So we will go to the previously created broker and we'll see what that looks like. So here's my broker. You can see some details about the broker here, specifications, the configuration. We support VPC endpoints by default. And as you will scroll down here and you'll see the various protocol endpoints we support. As Bill mentioned, ActiveMQ supports AMQP, Stomp, a wide variety of things. So those are the endpoints that you'd wire up to your code. And then we'll look at the ActiveMQ console here. So we have 2 endpoints, one for the active and passive. So here's the active broker. And then if we click the passive one, we'll get a dead site because that's this passive instance, it's not running.
So what's the point of a passive instance?
So passive is just so that you can, let me just pause here a second. Passive is just so that you have another instance in another availability zone. And so if there's an issue with either the broker itself or the instance or even the entire availability zone, it'll actually just fail over in a few seconds.
And you keep running.
Yeah, so you've got high availability features there, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. So, so just continuing on here. So we'll log into this broker using the password and username that I just set up. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you creating a queue and we'll send some messages. So let's create a queue. We'll call it my queue. And let's send some messages. So you can see I've got the queue there. We'll send some messages. We're going to turn on persistent delivery, which makes sure those messages are persisted to durable storage. And we have redundant storage across availability zones. So we'll send that. So you can see we've got 100 messages in the queue here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fail over. So I'm going to reboot this broker. And that's going to initiate a failover to the secondary instance. And then after that one reboots, it'll actually fail over back to the primary. So we're going to do that. And to show you the actual failover happening, we're going to show you the CloudWatch metrics. So we've integrated this completely with CloudWatch.
That's great.
So you can see metrics on the broker, on the queues, and on topics. So let's take a look at those CloudWatch metrics. And so you can see the various metrics available there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on the broker metrics, and we'll just look at a total message count. So across the first and the second broker there. So the blue line is the primary, and the orange dot you'll see is the secondary. And let's just up the resolution here to 1 minute so that we can actually see what's going on here. And so you'll see here there's 100 messages in the first queue, in the first broker, and then we failed over. So you can see the orange, just a little dot there while it's failed over to the secondary. So we have 100 messages in the secondary and then 100 back in the primary. So that's basically it. So you can see it's pretty easy to just create a broker in a couple of minutes. Failover is taken care of for you, HA, and you can look at your metrics to monitor your broker.
That's great, and it's all run as an end-to-end automated service for people.
That's right.
So it's very easy.
It's going to be available later today, so check it out. Go to the Amazon MQ Management Console. You can log in yourself, create a broker. And one of our partners, HashiCorp, has actually integrated with this. They make a product for infrastructure as code called Terraform. And that's integrated from day one, so later today they'll be launching that as well.
Great, excellent. Thanks, Trevor. Now you've got another partner, we've got another partner guest with us today, Chris from Cedrus. Can you talk to us a little bit about your experience with this service, Chris? 'Cause I think you've been working with it in the pre-release phase.
Yes, we've been, a lot of our practitioners, and as Bill was speaking about, these messaging infrastructures, a lot of times these are 20-year-old types of environments. So what Trevor just showed there, the simplicity and a lot of the work that took us a lot of work 20 years ago, that we're working with customers to say, let's take the complexity out of the business or out of these environments. Let's work at, make this kind of business as usual of upgrading your messaging environments from the security perspective, from your auditing perspective, move it directly over to the AWS MQ service, and then work with the application teams, right? Because they're the major constituents of this. We're providing the infrastructure, the consumers of this messaging infrastructure are the different business lines of business applications, and make it painless for them to switch, right? They're a little bit, at any point in time, when you're talking about changing out a internal internal plumbing, right? They're a little bit resistant to it, but make it as simple as possible. And in our labs environments, and we'll be putting out a lot of samples together with Trevor, just to simplify and how easy these migrations are going to be for customers.
Great, excellent, that's really good. So the last question I have for you is about pricing and about regional availability. So how is the service priced, and in which regions is the service going to be available during the launch?
Sure, so the US pricing it's priced by the instance hour and then by the gigabyte for storage. So you can actually get started for free. We have a micro instance that you can have 750 hours a month for free on your micro instance for the first year, and 1 gigabyte of storage per month. And then our production instances, which are the large M4 large instances, are 30 cents per instance hour. That's for a single broker. For an active standby, it's 60 cents per instance hour. And then storage is 30 cents per gigabyte month.
And what about regional availability?
Yeah, so we're launching in 6 regions today. So we'll be available in North Virginia, Ohio, Oregon, Frankfurt, Ireland, and Sydney.
Excellent, great. Now I've got a couple of questions off the stream before I ask you a little bit more about resources where customers can find out more about this service. So the first question we've got off the stream is whether you could just quickly recap the decision tree that might lead customers to use this service rather than use SQS. So just run through again what the selection criteria might be for using SQS versus using Amazon NQ.
I can do that. So if you're designing a new cloud application from scratch and you're really concerned about massive scalability and just simplicity, SQS and SNS are what we recommend, because the APIs are really simple. It's pay-as-you-go pricing, and you don't need any particular compatibility with something you already have. If you're moving something to the cloud that you're using an existing message broker, you might be using a JMS API or an AMQP protocol. That's where we recommend using this service, because you don't have to rewrite a lot of code.
Yeah, it has the broad protocol support that you need for plugging in the different messaging sources, right?
That's right. So Chris, it really is just create a new endpoint and point to it.
It really is.
Don't take our word for it.
No, it really is. In our lab, our teams, we were looking at this over the last couple of weeks. We were trying to put together a demo for today. It's going to be a little bit, but it really is scary how simple this is.
Great.
Because we put a lot of hard work in this over the days, and you guys have simplified a lot of this stuff. So we're not making. We felt good about ourselves, and now we don't feel quite as good.
Great. So the last question from the stream is about compliance. So is this service going to be HIPAA or PCI compliant at launch? And if not, is there an intent to get that compliance coverage over time?
So that is definitely important for our enterprise customers, and we're planning to do that. It's not available right now at GA, but we're planning to do that throughout the next year.
We have to go through it. You don't just check a box. We have to go through a certification process.
I understand that, and there's a period of running the service in operations before you can achieve those compliance standards, right? Because the auditors need to come in and take a look at that.
And it's definitely something we're going to do.
Great, excellent, that's great to hear. So that's all I have in questions. Where can customers go to find out more about the service?
So later tonight, you'll see our website will be live for Amazon MQ. There will be a Jeff Barr blog. Actually, you can take a look at, published probably right now, actually, if you go check that out. And then actually just go to the management console. In another hour or two, you'll see the service turning up live in the 6 regions I mentioned.
Fantastic. Okay, that's all we have for this segment. Thanks very much for joining us, gentlemen. That was really excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.